Děkujeme za vaši podporu na Hero Hero.
Díky ní vám přinášíme inspirativní rozhovory a kvalitní seberozvojový obsah.
So it is not, you cannot believe that the money you need to run a two persons working in the suburbs of Copenhagen is the same amount of money that you need to run a family on the road or just a homeschooling family. It's not the same money. And it's a little difficult to understand before you move there.
The thing is, some people don't have all what we have.
No.
Some people live in much more humble situations and already don't have the car we had a lot we could cut back on. I think some people who want to homeschool have less they can cut back on. I get that. I think what it really comes down to is, how important is this? I was in the situation that I had beat a severe cancer situation. And I remember coming back from the hospital. I was 6 months hospitalized, and then we had 5 years of hoping and praying. But even just coming back from the hospital, starting to grow hair again, and this whole weird phase of our life, at some point I told Jesper, I'd rather live in the car than go to work. I don't care. I can sleep on the back seat. I'd rather have my kids grow up in the car, not wearing shoes, than having to send them to school, having to put on the facade and the dress and go to work. I don't want to do that. I want to be around them, and I want to save them from this life. And I'm willing. It took a while before we actually did it, but I remember, and I know you'll say that because then I was the one holding on to the house anyway, and it was a long process. But I think the realization that this comes first. This is not a luxury thing I want to do in my vacations, or I wish I could, or this comes first. I want to be around my children. I had faced the idea of not being around at all. And I knew that I wanted to be around my children. And I wanted it so much that I knew when I sometimes had to just serve rice and tomato for dinner, that it was worth it. I'd rather just have rice and tomatoes than go to work. I'd rather not have shoes and wear my old boots again, or I'd rather share my clothing with my husband. So many things changed because I had my priorities sorted out. And I think we live in a world where the idea of the Western modern lifestyle in the nice condo with the big kitchen and all the utensils and the organic juices that you make every morning, and the jogging and the yoga and the nice clothes and the active charcoal toothbrush, whatever, all of these things. It becomes as if, you have to walk in the street with a takeaway to-go coffee in your hand because it's like an accessory. It becomes a life as if it's a standard, as if you just have to have it all. And in a way, I think we got clear, and we had help from the cancer situation, that, you can lose everything and you can lose it next week. So maybe make sure that what you prioritize and what you focus on is what is truly important. And I think we learned that. And we were in very fortunate, I can't even say that. We choose to look at our life as a long strain of luck, a long strain of great things that happened, that we were helped and had all sorts of help, and it was all great. You could share my story in a different way, but this is how I choose to look at it. And I think we arrived at the point where we are now, among others, because we knew what we wanted. And I am still willing to live in my car rather than go to work. We have a lot of money now, to be honest. We might as well just say it out loud. We're fairly rich. So we're not the best example of how to live without this and that, because we don't. But I'm willing to do it. I've done it before. I'll do it again, because I know that the organic whatever it's not priority 1 or 5 or 19. So with the money question, it really comes down to how important is homeschooling for you. We talked to a single mom recently on the podcast who said she couldn't homeschool. She wanted to homeschool. She couldn't homeschool. So what she did was to make a plan as to when could she arrive to a point where she could homeschool. And that's actually, are you willing to do the work? Are you willing to walk the path? For us, because we felt like keeping the house for a while, we wasn't sure, could we really thrive on the road? And we wanted to come back to the same house if we didn't. So we wanted to rent it out, and that made things complicated. My husband wanted to make sure that he was dead sure he could provide for us, which I respect, and I'm very appreciative about it. It took us 3 years. 3 years of my husband coming home from work. I looked after the kids in the house. We didn't have the kind of money we have today. And he came home and he would throw his clothes in the doorway, more or less, spend 2.5 seconds in the bathroom, go to the office room and sit and work for the next 3, 4, 5, 6 hours every day.
And I even had meetings in the morning sometimes.
Sometimes before work as well. So he was just working what the Americans would call his ass off to make it happen. And after 3 years, we had a thriving business online where he made all the money. I made all the homemaking. It was very traditional. And we took off. And then the funny story is that 1 week, was it even?
Yeah.
Within the first week, he lost the biggest client, 2/3 of the money. So maybe we should have just left. Was it worth it 3 years, or should we just have been more courageous?
We could have been more courageous.
We could have been more courageous.
Absolutely. Today, I would maybe have left earlier. Absolutely.
But that's the same thing as we said before. You can look back and you can regret, and you can think, I should have known, I could have known, I should have done this and that and the other, but we didn't. But we can't change it. So why bother thinking about it?
For money, if we can go all hippie on it, then...
More hippie than I just did?
Yeah, more hippie. Then money is I sometimes see it as a language that we use to talk about resources and energy. And some people, they are afraid of learning the language. Some people live with this weird notion that if people are rich, then they're evil and they must have taken the money from someone. None of the people I have met with millions and millions of dollars, and we have met some on our travels, are anything other than really nice people. They have just worked for it and gotten there, and then there's been a portion of luck involved. But all of them have been really wonderful, kind people. But if you look at energy, then sometimes one of the defining things is, again, figuring out what is your values. So when Cecilia and I are looking at spending money, we see if it aligns with our values. And if it doesn't align with our values, then we shouldn't use the money. This is something we do more when we have fewer funds. In our life, it changes a little up and down. Sometimes you have a lot of money, sometimes you have fewer money. So the more money you have, the less we debate it all the time. But the times where we have had to look at it, we have been very clear on our values. And number one is we want to be at home together with our children. And as minimum, Cecilia should be at home with the children. If needed, I'm willing to offer myself and go find a full-time job if needed at some point. I would prefer not to. I would prefer being together with my family. But we are clear on our values. So that is also when we use money, we know why we use them. And then when Cecilia and I met, I had this high career in the media industry in Denmark, and Cecilia had our oldest daughter, Cecilia, had on her own, and I have been so lucky to adopt her later on. So she was a single mom making ends meet, and I came in with a debt to the partnership, and she had to teach me this very simple thing, but it's not something the banks teach you. It's like, hey, but Jesper, you cannot use money you don't have, man. And I was like, well, of course I can. I
have this credit card.
I have this credit card. I use them, and then next month, then I pay something for it. So yeah. And it sounds stupid when I hear it now. You cannot use money you don't have, because in this day and age, you can. If you pay a little fine for taking out the money, then it's more difficult next month. But what it did in our life was that we only use money we have, and to take it back to energy. Then if you look as money as time and energy, then we only use life we have spent. If money equals time of your life you have put into something, then we do not use our future life. We are not sacrificing our future for gaining a win and happiness here and now. So we are only using, I was down and shopping some groceries, some fresh produce, but that is time we have spent. And that is, when you look at it that way, sometimes it helps me to say, oh, it could be nice to take a mortgage and buy a big ass house, but it would be indebting myself to work a certain amount of my life in the future. And I'm not willing to sacrifice my future for the now.
I think the most interesting thing, probably because I've heard the whole thing before, we
Yeah.
talk about this a lot, but the most interesting element is what we think we know about money, and how we feel about money, and what stories we hold and share about money, what kind of idea about work we have, and the relation between work and money. It's interesting how we think it has to be hard, and we think that we have to take care, watch out, not spend our money. We have all sorts of ideas, stories, emotions. Sometimes I would even say personality traits around money. It's a big thing. Really, it is. Like schools, it's a huge construct in the kind of reality we all share. Like time. We all know what time it is, and we have the time zones, and we can always know what time it is here, there, and calculate. It's not wrong. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm all for money. I think money is a great thing. It's a great system. It's much better than all the other systems invented before. Really, it is. It's very democratic. It's very humane. Trade is a great cultural exchange. Always has been. But the funny thing is, we never think about it. We never talk about it. It's as if we are a little ashamed. We can talk about our love life. We can talk about our sexual life. We can talk about our health, our parents, our traumas. We can talk about historical traumas like wars, genocide, but we don't talk about money. Money is this thing. We don't talk about it, which means we don't know ourselves. Most people don't really know what they truly hold as truths around money. Most people don't know why they have the idea about the relation between work and money. Most people have no idea where it comes from and why it's there, if it's even theirs, if they want to hold these beliefs or not. And I'm not in the hocus pocus business. I don't think that you put a crystal under your pillow and $100 bill in your back pocket and then you jump backwards 3 times and say a little song every morning and then it all resolves.
Manifest $1 million.
I don't believe in that. It never happened in my life. And I wouldn't, well, I don't know. I didn't try, but I'm not in that business. But I do think that if we really understand what it is, and I can't say this in this short interview, I think everyone has to do some introspection and maybe start these conversations. Talk about it. How do you feel? What did your parents say about money? How did you feel about money as a child? Is it stressing you out? What is your strategy? Talk to your friends about it. Some people don't even have a budget. I was shocked to find that out when I was an adult. I mean, I made my first budget when I was 15, I think, just to, see where I was. But some people don't do that. I think I came from a home where that was just a standard, like brushing your teeth, but no one. So if we could start this conversation about our emotions, about our realities, what we think, what we hold as true, and what we would like to change, how we would like to act and evolve in our relation to money. And then it very, very quickly spreads out to resources and energy and values. What is important? And then the conversation becomes a little more interesting. But if we always are hushed about the actual money thing, how much money do you spend on food per month? How do you make them? What would you do if you couldn't? Could you half it? What do you feel when your funds are really low? Can you handle it? What happens to you? All of these things. How would you feel if you were a millionaire? Can you even imagine? Would you be okay with earning 10 times what you earn now? Would you feel okay around your friend? Would you really? Maybe you wouldn't. So all of these conversations, I think they are really important, and I think they are not being taken because it's the last really strong taboo. And I would also say I have a strong theory about why. Because I think the big thing is the consumerism, the big money that are driving the wheels of probably driving most of the wheels of our society. They have no interest in the little man becoming smarter on his own spending and earning habits and why they are what they are. So there's no encouragement for this, but except maybe for mine over here. I can wave a flag. So I cannot say, okay, you want to homeschool? Here's how you fix the money thing like this. No, I can't. But I would say make a plan and work for it.
Yeah.
Děkujeme za vaši podporu na Hero Hero.
Díky ní vám přinášíme inspirativní rozhovory a kvalitní seberozvojový obsah.